Hello and welcome. As a specialist in modern hospitality operations, I'm truly delighted to be your guide. To all the students of Europe Hotel School joining us, welcome to your online learning journey. Our whole goal here is to support your growth by giving you practical, real-world knowledge that you can actually use out there in the field.
All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to unpack a concept that is absolutely critical to any hotel's success, the Profitability Triad. We're going to look at how bringing together three key departments, that's finance, revenue, and sales, can literally transform a hotel's performance, taking it from just good to truly outstanding. And it all comes down to collaboration.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll define what this triad actually is. Then, we'll dive into the serious dangers of what happens when these teams work in their own little worlds. After that, we'll get practical and talk about how to actually build strategic alignment, how to handle the inevitable conflicts, and finally, how to reach that state of unified synergy, which, trust me, is where the real magic happens.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. What are we actually talking about when we say Profitability Triad? It's all about really understanding the specific, vital role that each of these departments plays in keeping a hotel financially healthy and successful. Now, take a look at this. This table breaks it down so clearly. You've got your finance team. They're the foundation, right? They provide that financial discipline and measure how we're doing. Then there's revenue management, who are like the masters of the puzzle, optimizing every single room with smart pricing and forecasting. And of course, sales. They're the engine, out there building relationships and driving that all-important demand. Each one has its own focus, but you can already see how they absolutely have to be working together.
But what happens when these powerhouse teams don't talk to each other? Well, that brings us to the biggest problem we're tackling today, the danger of departmental silos. This is what leads to a completely disconnected and honestly, often failing strategy.
And that word, silo, is so important here. A silo mentality is exactly what it sounds like. Think of these big, tall towers on a farm. They stand right next to each other, but nothing moves between them. When teams operate like that, they don't share info, they don't coordinate, and as you're about to see, that can have huge consequences for the bottom line.
And this slide, wow, it really lays out the stakes, doesn't it? On one side, you have siloed teams. That leads to missed opportunities, strategies that actually work against each other, and just chaos. But look at the flip side. When teams are aligned, you can react faster to the market, you have crystal clear strategic focus, and a powerful, unified effort. The difference is just night and day. All right, so we've identified the problem. Now for the most important part. How do we fix it? Let's talk about the real practical path to tearing down those silos and building genuine strategic alignment.
It really comes down to three concrete steps. First, everyone needs to be aiming for the same target. We're not talking about departmental goals. We're talking about shared, hotel-wide objectives. Second, communication has to be totally transparent and ongoing. And third, you have to make this a habit. Set up regular, structured meetings where everyone gets together and shares information freely.
And here's the key that ties it all together: data. Data becomes the common language that everyone can understand and use. It's not about opinions anymore, it's about the facts. The financial data helps revenue set the right prices, and the insights the sales team gets from being out in the market, that's pure gold for creating accurate demand forecasts. It creates this amazing, positive feedback loop. Now, let's be realistic for a minute. Bringing people together from different teams with different priorities, it isn't always going to be easy. It is absolutely essential that we anticipate the challenges and conflicts that can, and believe me, they will, come up. And that brings us to the million-dollar question that pretty much every hotel leader has to deal with. What do you do when the goals of your departments seem to be pulling in opposite directions? How do you get everyone back on the same page for the good of the entire hotel? Here is the absolute classic example. Picture this. Sales is pushing to land a massive group booking. It could fill the hotel, but they need to offer a big discount to get it. Their focus is on volume. Meanwhile, finance is looking at the profit margin on that deal, and it's razor thin. Their focus on profitability. You see the problem? Without a system for collaboration, this is just a recipe for conflict. So, how do you fix a classic showdown like that? Well, it starts with mutual understanding. Sales has to get why margin matters, and finance needs to see the value in filling empty rooms. Second, there has to be genuine respect for what each person brings to the table. And finally, and this is so critical, you need strong leadership to constantly guide everyone back to the main goal, the hotel's total profitability, not just one department's numbers. Now, when you navigate those challenges and get everyone working together, That's when you reach the ultimate goal. This is the payoff. This is when you achieve a state of true, unified synergy. And frankly, this is what separates the great hotels from the ones that are just good.
At the end of the day, the goal is to stop thinking about revenue optimization as a bunch of separate tasks and start seeing it as one single, unified effort. The best analogy is a world-class rowing team, right? Everyone is pulling in the same direction, in perfect rhythm, all focused on a single finish line. That is the incredible power of synergy.
And I want to be clear, this isn't just some abstract theory. Being able to build and lead these kinds of collaborative teams is a core leadership skill in today's hospitality industry. It's exactly the kind of capability that's emphasized right here in your curriculum at Europe Hotel School London, setting you up to be the kind of leader the industry is crying out for.
So I'll leave you with a question to really think about. As you continue your studies and move into your amazing careers, it doesn't matter if you start in sales, finance, or operations, how can you be the person who champions this synergy? How will you be the one who builds the bridges between departments and unlocks the full potential of your hotel? Really give that some thought. Thank you.